Hi guys, Matt from Enforcer. Got something here to show you today which I think is going to be a game changer. Brand new product from Billet Boss, and that is the billet timing cover for the FD rx7 engine. So the timing covers come in a kit, and it is a comprehensive complete kit for you to bolt onto the front of an FD engine. Obviously it comes with a 7075 billet timing cover which has a front bearing support for the crank. It comes with a new front hub, which has the extra length in it to locate on the bearing. All the hardware, your bearing, seal, and a bearing retainer plate, making this a very easy, simple installation that anyone can do. One of the first things that you're going to notice is when you look at this is an odd looking FD timing cover. FDs don't have the front breastplate mount, but that's just one of the great things that they have added to this timing cover. If we compare it to a standard FD timing cover, this one's a little dirty, but you'll get the idea. Dimensionally, and all the bolts are all the same. What they have added though is this is where I think it's going to be great for the race cars and the early RX conversions. Being able to use the FD timing cover on an FD engine or a Cosmo Block Series 4 or 5, whichever you've got. Being able to mount the engine on the front just makes it so versatile. So say for example we put this onto a 12A engine, we can still use the front breastplate. But where the earlier style timing covers that use the crank angle sensor, the crank angle sensors are starting to wear out, they're getting harder to get hold of. This is the other ingenious thing that the Billet Boss guys have come up with, is we can now use the crank triggers from the FD, but they've also given us a leading and a trailing pointer so that we can verify timing. So if you've got a misfire or you've got a wiring gremlin, you've got something you need to check, you can quickly verify it with a timing light, knowing that we've got a leading mark and our trailing mark. Having the bearing in the front timing cover just eliminates the crank flex, and it's not just associated with the high RPM. Also, once you start putting a lot of cylinder pressure in the engine, the crank is going to have a natural tendency to move. So by putting a bearing in the timing cover with the hub to locate on it, it just takes that. It helps eliminate the crank flex or any movement in the crank, which obviously preserves stationary gear bearing life and rotor life. We're less likely to have parts touch, like cranks touch bearings, rotors touch housings. So they've got some great features in this timing cover. One thing that you will notice is it has deleted the oil metering pump, and it's a common thing for us nowadays to just delete that and premix it. Turning the timing cover over, we'll see that it is a direct replacement to the factory one. So we still have our front relief valve, the oil drain for the turbo. If you're running if it's on an FD engine, you can still run the drain straight back in. If it's on an earlier model engine, we can just put the drain straight back into here. And not running the oil metering pump, we don't have the drive gear in here for the oil metering pump. And just looking at it, it is a very nice piece and very strong and high quality. I'm not sure if it shows up on the camera. You can see a few lines, machine marks in it. It probably looks rough, but it's hard to sort of see on the camera because it's that fucking shiny. They're very smooth. That's just toolpath marks, and these will be available in a 6061 if you wanted an anodized version, so you could have whatever color you wanted. Our power steering and air conditioning brackets, or mounting points, are all there, so you can literally put this into a street car. Oil pressure outlet from the pump is identical, so it's a straight over swap. Just to touch on the crank trigger setup, why I think this is such a good thing is, yes, there's some aftermarket crank triggers out there which you can delete your crank angle sensor and do a trigger off the front. However, where I've seen them fail is the disc that bolts to your front hub can come loose, it can get a bit of a whip in it and flex, therefore taking out the sensor. Once you've lost that sensor, you're a couple of $100 out for a new sensor, you're up for a new chopper wheel. So being the factory FD one, it's more secure as it's bolted to the back of the hub. So again, very nice looking piece from Billet Boss. And I imagine these probably retail for somewhere around 2,000 odd Aussie dollars. Now if you're in a country using pounds, euro or US dollars, jump on it, because the way the conversion rate is at the moment, that's about $50 in your money. So save yourself a fortune and get in and order quickly. Well, I think we'll put this on an engine and have a look how it fits up. Okay, so we've got an FD engine here on the teardown bench. So we'll strip this one down and we'll fit the timing cover and see how it fits. Now obviously if your engine looks something like this, you're probably not in the market for a billet timing cover, but this will give you a good idea on just how well they fit, and you can see that they are a bolt-on replacement for those that do require them. Okay, so we're at a point now where we can pull the hub off. We'll disconnect the sensors, then we can pull the timing cover off and we'll fit up the Billet Boss one and see how it fits. Okay, so we've got our Billet Boss timing cover ready to go on. Now, because it's demonstration, I haven't even put a relief valve in it. I'm not going to bother putting a timing cover gasket on it. We're just going to fit it up and show how everything fits up. Now that the timing cover's bolted on, you'll get a better understanding on how the bearing supports the front. If we grab our bearing, now this being a billet and quite sturdy, the crank being in the centre and this being machined perfectly into the centre as well, the bearing gets installed. Now these will be a tight fit, you do have to tap them in, but you get the idea. So the bearing's installed, followed by the seal, and then obviously the retainer plate would go on top. Now it doesn't change your spacing for your pulleys at all. If we look at the two pulleys here, the Billet Boss one versus the OEM one, visually they look different. The only reason there is the extra turn down material here is to allow clearance on the retainer plate. If we were to put the factory one back on, you'll see, yep, it looks like we could run a seal. However, once the retainer plate is on, we wouldn't be able to run the factory pulley because it fouls on the retainer plate that holds the seal and bearing in. So dimensionally, we are the same. Your pulley offset won't change, all your belts and pulleys all still line up as they did before you put the timing cover on. Now with the FD crank pulleys, they will only go on one way. There are several holes drilled into these, but they are for different types of pulleys. But if you're using the OEM stuff, it will only go on one way, and it is correct. We've checked it. So now with the hub installed and the engine being verified that it is on TDC, we'll check the position. It's right there. And that's it, a replacement FD timing cover with the front bearing support. Billet Boss nailed it again. And the only drawback I can see on this is you won't be able to see it once you close the hood.